Maria!
Yeah, this is definitely not happening. Recently, we got the teaser trailer for Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and with the tease they set up at the end credits of the last movie, we knew Sonic Adventure 2 was incoming for the third installment. I got just as hyped as everyone else did thinking about that, but then I thought about it more and more, and rather than hyped, I became worried. Now don't get me wrong, I enjoyed Sonic 1 and Sonic 2, and both are good films, but they both have the same issue that I think may plague Sonic 3. Now, before you start typing Sonic 3 is going to be amazing, you're crazy, let me say, I hope I'm wrong, because like I said, I liked Sonic 1 and 2, but for a Sonic 3 based on Sonic Adventure 2, they have to be what the other two films couldn't be, and that's ambitious. Let me explain what I mean by that. Sonic 1 and 2 were ambitious in the fact that they were finally bringing Sega's Blue Boy to the big screen. They were so ambitious, we needed to remind them what Sonic looked like.
Why does that name haunt me? It's the only thing I can remember, and that gruesome image.
Now I want you, dear viewer, to think about the whole plot and the events that occur in Sonic 1 and 2. Now think about Sonic Adventure 2 and what they need to do to adapt that. We have to travel all over the planet, from jungles to the desert, and into freaking space. Sonic and his friends fight giant ghosts, giant moving statues, and the final hazard. They need to introduce Rouge and Amy, and even though we got a glimpse of him at the end of Sonic 2, we now need to build up Shadow's backstory to the degree he deserves, while also balancing Eggman's screen time, because we know Jim Carrey's back and you don't want to waste Jim Carrey by not giving him enough screen time. And concerning Shadow's backstory, we need to delve into the tragedy of Maria, something that is actually pretty serious that hasn't been even remotely attempted tone-wise in the last two films. You see, when you actually have all these things staring you in the face, and when you really think about it, you contemplate, can they really pull this off? Now, Sonic 3 doesn't need to be a shot-for-shot remake of the game. I believe films should take what can work for a film and change some things while maintaining what made the original so memorable and keeping in the key components and motivators of the characters. If you want an example of this, take a look at the live-action One Piece, arguably the only good Western adaptation of an anime. That show kept all the key motivators for the characters intact as well as their personalities, and developed all the characters and changed enough of the show to make it its own thing without losing what makes One Piece so special. However, they got 8 episodes to do it, while Sonic 3 probably has about 2 hours to cram everything into one movie. And that's not even the worst part. Unfortunately, another component that may waste valuable screen time that's already spread thin are the god-awful B-plots. Sonic 2 was a ton of fun and I thoroughly enjoyed the film, however the pacing was bogged down by the terrible wedding side quest. What was the point of this? I don't understand what the director's vision was to have all these great elements from the games and we go on this fun adventure with Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Eggman, and they were like, you know what this needs? A wedding in the middle of the film to take up way too much of the runtime. I have yet to meet or even see someone online say this was an amazing part of the film. Everyone says the same thing. The movie would have been better without it. And with everything we've laid out in terms of what this film needs to go over, we do not have time for garbage subplots like this. I understand this is a family film and you need fun scenes, but what exactly was fun about these scenes? The Sonic and Tails dance-off was much better, and if you need to give humans more scenes, why not just give that screen time to Jim Carrey? And ask yourself, who honestly would prefer more of this over Jim? The answer is nobody, that's who. What I think Sonic 3 should do is focus more on the immediate family relationship and let them go with Sonic and friends on the adventure. Do not give them a B-plot, let them be with Sonic in the actual plot. I don't hate what they've set up to be Sonic's human parents with Tika Sumpter and James Marsden, aka Donut Lord. I especially think they could be more important players in a Sonic 3 if they actually go with Sonic. It could be a nice way to show even though Sonic has lost Longclaw, he gained new parents who look out for him and love him, while the only human who truly loved Shadow was killed and now he has nobody. It would be a good contrast between the two hedgehogs that could actually push the emotional arc of the plot forward. Hell, you could even have it so that maybe even Shadow threatens to off one of them, if not both of them, so that Sonic can feel the pain he does. These two, along with Jim Carrey, should be the only human focus. Also, I know Sonic 2 introduced introduced Gun, and they'll probably play a part in Sonic 3 as well, but I would prefer they take a backseat to the other characters. Maybe have them be around here and there, but that's it. Sonic 2 didn't do much to really think of these guys as threats, and I see them more like bumbling annoyances. And that's okay, I don't hate them, but I don't think they're great either. Especially with how I remember Gun from the other Sonic games. The film chose to go in a different direction, and like I said, I'm indifferent. There are other people who I'm sure hate them, and that's fine. I just think we don't need to focus on them all too much. Besides, they were more of a key player in Shadow the Hedgehog more than Sonic Adventure 2. In Sonic Adventure 2, they were just there as enemies to mow down so the player isn't bored. They didn't have much plot relevance. And with Sonic 3, we have our new key character, Shadow. This entire film depends on Shadow being portrayed well, not Sonic. I know, the movie's called Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and I'm saying it hinges on Shadow. The reason I say this is because Sonic's established by this point. I like him, you like him, the general audiences like him, everybody likes him. Shadow is going to be the main antagonist for our hero, and yes, Eggman is still around, but I don't think he'll be the driving force behind the film. If Shadow fails and people think he sucks, this movie doesn't work. Especially because Shadow has a tragic past that, like I mentioned, has never been attempted tone-wise in the previous two films. Having that whole backstory with Maria needs to happen, and they can't shy away from it. Remember how I said films can change things, but you need to keep key components and character motivations? Well, this is Shadow's key moment and the character motivation for who he is. If Sonic 3 deems this to be too sad or dark for a family film about speedy hedgehogs, this movie doesn't stand a chance. And with the tone of the last two films, this has me especially worried. Yes, Longclaw died in Sonic 1, but that happened off screen and it was an owl. We're talking about a human child being killed by other humans. Hollywood doesn't tend to do stuff like that in family movies. When it comes to animals, it's all cool, but humans? No, especially in a live-action family film. And if I had to guess what's going to be changed, it's Maria's death. They're either going to remove it completely or pull a 4Kids and say she was kept in a dungeon and she's completely fine and reunites with Shadow. I don't think they're going to keep this backstory, at least the way Sonic Adventure 2 did it, intact. I could be wrong, and I hope I am, but I don't see them letting a literal child be killed as character motivation for Shadow. The last two Sonic films don't come anywhere close to having as dark or serious a moment as this, so I think it's getting changed drastically or it won't be in the movie at all. Now, we've talked about relationships so far with Sonic and his family and Shadow and Maria, but now we have to address the elephant in the room: shipping. So people are saying Rouge and Amy are on the way. Again, I don't think we're getting both. I think we're only going to get one, and if I had to place a bet, it would be on Amy. We've already gone over how much this movie needs to set up and the important events that need to occur for the film to work. I don't think we have time to set up both Amy and Rouge with everything else. It would be too cluttered. Sure, fans might say we don't need them to set up everything, we already know everything we need to about them, but that's not how you make a good film. You need to act as if you're making it for people who have no idea who these characters are. So I think people will be disappointed because they're expecting both of them, and I think we're only going to get one of them. But let's say we do get both Rouge and Amy. There's the whole Knuckles and Rouge and Amy and Sonic thing. The way the movie has portrayed these characters, they're more like children. So the way Amy pines for Sonic isn't too bad, and I think they could make that work if that's what they want to set up. In Sonic Adventure 2, Amy liking Sonic was honestly pretty tame, and it was just innocent crushing, so I think it would be fine in a film. Or if they want to go a different route, they could have Amy be indifferent towards Sonic at the beginning and give that relationship time to develop so that Amy has a reason to like Sonic. See, that was easy. Now we have to move on to Rouge and Knuckles. This is a whole different situation. For one, I don't know if Rouge is introduced, if they'll make her as, let's say, well endowed as her previous portrayals. And God knows what the internet gets like when you do that. Also, Knuckles is portrayed much differently in the movies than he was in the game. I feel like Rouge couldn't have a real argument with him, it would be more like having a conversation with Drax. And Rouge and Knuckles' relationship always seemed more adult to me anyway, at least growing up, rather than Sonic and Amy's that felt more childish. And I don't know if that's what the director's looking for in that relationship. relationship, so I think this one is best left alone. And that's okay, Rouge kind of comes and goes as she pleases anyway, and I don't think her and Knuckles have to have that kind of chemistry in the film, but we'll see what they choose to do. Finally, as for the threat, I don't know how far they're willing to go. The entire third act of the game is pretty much all in space, and I don't know if that's where the film wants to go. But regardless, that's where they really do need to go. Eggman could be the starting villain with the whole destroying the moon thing and threatening the world, and it would make sense for this to happen since each film Jim Carrey's Eggman is more and more of a threat in each installment. The big question is, would they ignore the whole final hazard section? You're probably thinking obviously they're not going to, but again, there's only so much time for all these things to happen. It's conceivable they could cut this out and keep the focus on Eggman and Shadow as the main foes. You could just make it so Shadow and Sonic have to stop the space colony arc from falling and it was Eggman who caused it, which leads to the same ending as the game anyway with Shadow's sacrifice. You see what I mean? I would love to see the final hazard, but I don't know if Hollywood might just omit that for the runtime and plot purposes. And even though Sonic 2 stepped it up in terms of locations and atmosphere and tone, Sonic 1 and a good portion of Sonic 2 still felt way more grounded and earthly. It's hard for me to believe that they would send all these characters into space for a big battle with Godzilla. I know we are going to get Live and Learn because it's been heavily hinted in the teaser trailer and you can even hear some of it. That doesn't mean though that they're going to fight the final hazard. Like I said, it could just end up being Eggman who's the final hazard. People are saying Jim Carrey has come out of retirement to do Sonic 3, and maybe in a way that could partially be true, but that's not the full scope. He said way back on the Sonic 1 press tour that he would be interested in doing a different version of Eggman in each Sonic film, with him finally getting the fat suit in the third movie. And if this is Jim's truly final film because that's where he planned it from Sonic 1 to end, I don't see them going with the final hazard. I think they're gonna focus on Jim. Hopefully I'm wrong and the movie exceeds expectations, but I just wanted to bring this to everyone's attention because I know Hollywood is famous for having creative differences when it comes to adapting source material, whether it be books, live-action reimaginings, and video game adaptations. I want to be wrong and have this movie prove to me that my worries aren't warranted, and I'm still looking forward to Sonic 3, but I'm being cautiously optimistic. As a huge fan of Sonic Adventure 2, I just hope they do this game justice. But let me know what you guys think. Do you have the same worries, or are you not worried at all? Did any of you actually like the wedding stuff in Sonic 2? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys at the movies for Sonic 3, and hopefully we all come out of it being amazed. Nath out. Hey everyone, thanks again for watching the video, and I hope you're enjoying an awesome day. And if you want to watch more content, click on the videos below. I appreciate the support and keep on gaming. See you next time.